But this morning, again, I'm not, thankfully, heading back to school. Which means that some of you are very excited that you are going back to school. My boys are not so much because they're always at school. They wake up, they roll over, they're at school. But some of you who have to go to a school are very excited. And some of you have been praying already that school gets canceled. Like, how great would a snow day be in August, right? Some of you have probably already picked out your first day of school outfit. And some of you haven't even thought about the first day of school because then it makes it too real. Now, when I was in school, picking out that first day outfit was a huge deal. Like, you had to have, it was like the only time of year that I got brand new clothes because my mother knew that by October I would have holes in the knees from playing sports and all of the things. But I loved that first day of school, showing up, the fit's right, like top to bottom. You got the shoes are bright. I know I talk about these all the time. Bright white Air Force Ones when I was in high school, that was it. You were too legit to quit. So that's what we looked like, okay? So I walked in, a lot of fun. Now, funny story, if you have ever worried about embarrassing yourself on the first day of school, I have told this story before, I'm gonna tell it again today. I have probably the epitome of embarrassment on my first day of high school, first day as a freshman. As I carried my books into class, I carried all of my books in my bag. Like every book that I ever owned for every class was in the back of my backpack. My backpack was probably a good 3 feet deep on the back, right? Weighed 150 pounds. But because I was a freshman and I was like, I want to socialize, I don't want to go to my locker. So I just figured I'd carry everything with me. So I'm like ruck packing through the high school. And we had a decent sized campus. So it was like across and outside and all the things. So this first day of class, I'm heading up to our cafeteria. Our cafeteria was on the second floor of a building, which didn't make a whole lot of sense, but I didn't design it. And so at the top of the stairs, in preparation for welcoming everybody and all of the things, was the entire varsity cheerleading team at the top of the stairs. And me being a humble, I'm just kidding, prideful, young ninth grader, I was doing my best to just strut it up the stairs. I'm coming up the stairs just like, thinking I am so nice, right? Coming up the stairs, all the cheerleaders there, I'm trying not to strain because I have been carrying this backpack now for like 4 hours. And so I'm getting up to the top of the stairs. I'm like, what's up, ladies? Like, just trying to be cool. And sure enough, I hit that top step just with the tip of my fresh white Air Force Ones. And I started going down. And in a moment of panic, I caught myself and I'm like, I am good. I caught myself, it's fine, I'm like this. Made it look like I did it on purpose. The only problem is there's this law in physics that things that are in motion tend to stay in motion. And so this 150-pound backpack didn't agree with me that we should stop at that moment as it slid over my head and pushed my face down into the floor on top of the platform at the top of the stairs in front of the entire varsity cheerleading squad. And I came up with my nose just gushing blood in front of everyone. Day one. I loved high school. It was so great. So, unless you do that, you're good. You have nothing to worry about. It's going to be fine. You're going to have a great time. So, kids, you might be counting down the days, worried about when school is going to start and all of those things. It's going to be great. Some of you who are dreading it, I guarantee no one is looking more forward to you going back to school than your parents. I would imagine there are parents that every day, as they get closer to the day school starts, they wake up in the morning and they hit the track. It's the final countdown. No, I'm just kidding. But that would be me. Like if my kids are going off to school, have fun. Love you guys. See you later. You're someone else's problem for 7.5 hours. But this morning, I'm going to take you back a little bit into time, which just slips by so fast. And some of you younger people are going to learn how old I am. And I know that's relative. I get it. When I was growing up, if you wanted to listen to music outside of a radio, in a car, or at home, you had what is called a Walkman. Now, if you are under 20 years old, you probably are thinking, what in the world is a Walkman? A Walkman was basically a portable music player, except it really wasn't that portable. It was about the size of a brick, and you put a cassette tape in it. Now, you guys probably don't have a clue what a cassette tape is, but if you have seen Guardians of the Galaxy, that thing that Star-Lord carries around, that is a cassette tape. It's a Walkman, of all things, old school technology. I think my back just started hurting more thinking about the fact I'm explaining what a cassette tape is, but it's fine. But for those of you that are older than me, granted, I have no experience with 8-tracks. That's not me. I don't get those. I don't understand how they work. But on a Walkman, if you wanted to listen to a different song, you had to physically rewind the tape or fast forward it. And if it was a good tape, you had to take it out, flip it over, put it back in so you could listen to the other side of the tape. There was no Spotify. There was no Skip. There was no Alexa, play this song. There was no voice commands. You just hoped that you could find the song that you wanted before you accidentally fast-forwarded past it. And the really crazy part is if you wanted to listen to your favorite songs, you couldn't just make a simple playlist. You had to make what was called a mixtape. And making a mixtape was serious business. You had to sit there with your cassette recorder in front of the radio, wait for the song to come on. You didn't get to tell them when the song comes on. You wait for the song to come on and then hit record at the exact right moment in time. And God forbid that the DJ started talking over the beginning of your song because you just sat there for 45 minutes and your cassette is ruined. You would start recording and be like, and that was the latest from, and you're like, come on, I'm recording. Doesn't he know this? But finally, we move on from these Walkmans, which I guess I should show you what a Walkman looks like. That's a Walkman. Isn't it lovely? No, not so much. But finally, technology got a little bit better. And we went from this old technology to CDs, which was so great because we went from the Walkman to the Discman. Now, CDs, if you're not aware, they're like video games, but it's just music on them. And you can only have a maximum of like 80 minutes of music. That's it. That's the total. That's maybe 15 to 20 songs max. Okay, could you imagine that? Your whole life on just a little round disc. And the Discman was awesome. It was great. The sound quality was so much better. There was more songs than what you had on your cassette. So amazing. Until you decided to walk. Because the moment that you started to walk, your CDs would skip. Because apparently the technology of my youth, they didn't realize that humans have a tendency to move when they're like listening to music. You'd be listening to your favorite song and it would just it would just like cut out in the middle of it. And eventually you learned that if you held this thing perfectly tucked up underneath your arm and walked like you were carrying a tray of drinks, you could make it through an entire song. You had no more side-to-side motion than this right here, but you could do it. It could happen. And eventually, finally, technology broke through, and I have no idea what that is. And we had the MP3 players, and those were incredible because now we had literally hundreds of thousands of songs, or at least it seemed that way. It probably wasn't 100,000 songs, but at the time, it seemed like we had a lot. I'm trying to get rid of whatever that noise is. But it was so much fun because you would download the songs on your dial-up computer. If you're not aware of what a dial-up computer is, It is a sound that will traumatize you for the rest of your life. You sit there, to get onto the internet, you had to get on, and no one else could be on the phone, okay? Because if you're on the phone, it messes it all up and you're kicked off the internet. Like a house phone that's plugged into the wall. Okay, another day, okay? But this dial-up computer, you would just like hit it and it would like, and it would take like 45 minutes for it to connect to the internet. And then you would have to find these songs on these semi-legal, not legal websites like Napster. That's what we used when we were younger. And we would put these songs on the things and it was great, right? For our MP3 players. So now you have 1,000 songs in your pocket. Apple finally came along, you got the iPod, and it's like, finally there's a screen, because the first MP3 players didn't even have a screen, so like you would download the songs, but then you had to memorize the order that the songs were in. Like y'all don't even know how easy it is now, okay? But nowadays, we have smartphones, and smartphones carry every song ever made in the history of the human race. And not just music. We have podcasts, we have YouTube, we have TikTok, we have Netflix, we have messages, we have notifications, we have news, we have games. Everybody has something to say. But as technology progressed, it took another interesting turn. We started out with this technology that helped us to hear more songs, more entertainment, more information, more everything. And eventually we said, you know what? I don't want to hear any of it. I want some headphones. But not just headphones. Because I don't want to hear the guy next to me. I don't want to hear the airplane engines. I don't want to hear the kids screaming. I don't want to hear somebody talking to me while I'm just trying to listen to my tunes. I just want to put these things on and disappear. And we discovered noise-canceling headphones. Now, these ones are for hunting and stuff, but they do the job. If I put these on, I don't have to listen to anybody because they knock out all of the noise that's around me. Because sometimes the problem isn't that there isn't enough for us to hear, because there's always going to be enough for us to hear. Sometimes the problem we face each day is that there is just too much to hear, too much noise in our lives. And that noise that's around us isn't just annoying. Sometimes that noise is telling us what to believe. It's trying to tell us who we are. And if we're not careful, we can start listening to the wrong voices. So just for a few moments today, we're going to be talking about noise canceling. In your life and mine, no matter where you are, there will always be noise. You can't make the whole world quiet. It would be nice if you could, but you can decide which voices that you listen to. Now, before you think that I'm saying that all noise in your life is bad, I'm not. Could you imagine going to a sports game and everyone was just simply sitting there, super quiet, and as soon as your team scored, everybody was like, that is the lamest game to go to, okay? Could you imagine if you were at a game and someone scores and you're like, excuse me, could you please keep it down? We're trying to watch the game. No, you would want everybody screaming. If you go to a concert, you don't want them to be like, oh, could you turn that down just a little bit? It's just a little loud. Now, there are those, so if that's you, I'm sorry. But when I go to a concert, I literally want the bass pumping in my chest. I want to have the rhythm of my heart in sync with whatever music is playing at the time. If it's bumping, my heart should be bumping. You want everybody singing, because that's good noise. But have you ever been somewhere so loud that you cannot hear the person standing right next to you? It's one of the most frustrating things, especially if your wife or if somebody that you're with cannot read lips. You're sitting there and you're talking, and it's like, hey, did you hear what I said? What? I said, what? I said, eventually you just smile and nod. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay, sure. You have absolutely no idea what they said, which they remind you a week later when they're like, don't you remember I told you this? No, I don't. I don't remember that you told me that because it was too loud and I couldn't hear you. Because noise really only becomes a problem in our life when you're trying to hear something else. A lot of times there's just too much input for all of us. Everybody wants your attention. Everybody wants you to hear what they have to say. Your phone even says, look at me. Your friends say, come over here. Your teachers say, pay attention, right? Pay attention. But then there's that kid in the back who is always telling jokes and laughing. That was absolutely me in high school. There's no denying it. I was that kid in the back row that was just like cutting up the entire time. Your mother tells you to clean your room and you're just like, can everybody just please stop talking? Because you can't listen to everything at the same time. And that's why noise canceling headphones are so cool. They help you focus on what you actually want to hear. But if you try to listen to everything all the time, you might miss the voices in your life that you actually need to hear. For the past few weeks, I have been working on this project in a particular store. And I have found very quickly that the employees of this store love their music. I don't mean like their music, they love their music. And they play it at almost obnoxious levels. We are talking like so loud all day long. Now, I listen to nail guns and like compressors and saws all day long. I can handle loud noises. That is not a huge deal. The problem here is that every single department and nearly every employee likes their music specifically. And so they all have their own speakers. Now, when I say speakers, you're thinking like, oh, a little handy box speaker. No, they have speakers, like that size speakers in 6 different departments. The guy that's stocking shelves has a portable speaker that size that he carries around with him around the store, just pumping music. It's boom, 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 like all day long. By the end of the first day, my brain was so overstimulated that I had to literally drive home in complete silence so that I could just hopefully find my sanity by the time I got home. And again, I love music, but it was a lot. So the next day, before I went in, I prepared myself. And from the beginning, when I walked in, till the end, when I left, I put my headphones in, and I drowned out the noise that was surrounding me. No longer was I at the mercy of every sound that filled the room, because there was a lot, and there still is. Great food, a lot of noise. But I was able to block out and focus on what I needed to. But I want you to notice something. Just because I put my headphones on, just because I put these on, doesn't mean that there wasn't still noise around me. It doesn't mean that there wasn't something still fighting for my attention. I didn't get to go turn off their speakers. I probably would have gotten yelled at if I had turned off their speakers, although I would have loved to. I simply had the option to focus in on what I had chosen to listen to. Because some of us think that the only way to actually find peace in our lives is by getting rid of every problem. Like if I can just escape, then it won't affect me anymore. If I can just live separate from every noise that's around me, then I'll be fine. The problem is you can't escape every noise in your life. If I could just get everyone to stop bothering me, if my school was just easier, if my friends would just act right, if my family would just leave me alone, if my phone would stop blowing up, then I'd have peace. But the problem is you cannot control all the noise around you. This year when you go to school, you can't control what someone says about you. You can't control what somebody posts. You can't control what your friends decide to do. You can't control every situation that you walk into. But you can learn what deserves your attention. And that's the difference. Because sometimes you don't need the world to get quieter. You need to get better at deciding what you're going to listen to. Think about how much noise comes through just our phones. And this is adults, kids, it doesn't matter. You get a notification, ding, another one, ding, another one, ding, all day long. And eventually you are on your phone every 30 seconds checking the next notification. And half of the time we get these notifications, they're not even important. You get a notification, oh, your friend liked your post. My life has changed because someone liked my post. And it's just not true. Or, heaven forbid, someone that you don't know posted a story. Thank goodness that you were able to see it. Your day is complete because you got to see some random person's post. And yet those little sounds, those little dings in our day, have a way of grabbing our attention because we are wired to respond to noise. If I was in the back of this place right now and I yelled up to the front someone's name, obviously you're going to turn around. If your phone makes noise, you're going to look at it. Even in church service, I've done it. Everybody does it. I get it. If someone starts laughing behind you, you immediately want to know, what are they laughing about? What was the joke? Did I miss it? Noise gets our attention. And whatever gets our attention long enough starts influencing us. And that's why we have to be careful. Because all of the voices that are around us are saying, look at me, listen to me, do what I say, be like me, believe this. Everybody else is doing it. And if we're not careful, we can spend so much time listening to everybody else that we forget to listen to God. And that's where we miss out. Among the noise that surrounds us, God is speaking too. The question for us is, are we listening? Jesus said in John 10:27, he said, my sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. Jesus didn't say that my sheep hear every voice and obey them. He said, my sheep hear my voice. This school year, guess what? You're going to hear a lot of voices. Some good, some bad, some funny, some annoying. Some kids will say hurtful things to you and about you as they try to overcome hurts in their own lives. Some voices are going to try to convince you that they need you to be somebody that you're not. But if you are going to make this the year that you follow Jesus, you have to learn his voice. And it starts with understanding something very simple. Not everything you hear, adults, this is for you too, not everything that you hear deserves to be listened to. Imagine that you're getting ready for school in the morning and your alarm goes off. It's some supersonic annoying sounds, beep, 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 and you're like, absolutely not. Snooze. And then 9 minutes later, I don't know why mine's set for 9 minutes, but 9 minutes later, it goes off again, beep, beep, beep. And perhaps if you're a student, your mom's like, get up, you're going to be late. You're like, I'm up. But you're not up. You're still in bed, and then your phone starts going off. Ding. Bro, are you coming today? Ding. Did you see what happened last night? Ding. The dreaded group text. And someone sends a laughing emoji. Ding, group chat, thumbs up. Ding, group chat, thumbs up. Ding, group chat, LOL. Ding, group chat, group chat. I can't stand group chats if you're not aware. And you're like, I don't even know what we're laughing about. And it's 6:30 in the morning. But then your stomach joins the conversation. Feed me. You're like, okay, now that is a voice that I understand. And so you finally get to school, you sit down, your teachers are like, all right, class, today we're going to learn. Your friend's like, hey, bro, look at this. Your teacher's like, please pay attention. Your friend's, no, seriously, bro, look. Your phone, ding, your teacher, put your phone away. Your brain, I wonder if everyone here likes me. Your stomach, feed me. Your teacher, can anybody tell me the answers? And you're sitting there like, I don't even know what's happening anymore. I'm here, but I'm not here. There are too many voices, and it is now 8:30. Already overstimulated at the beginning of the day. And it's not that your friends are necessarily bad. It's not that your parents or your teachers are bad. Group text, we can all agree, are bad. Just kidding. They're a necessary evil at times. Your stomach is definitely not evil. It's just hungry. It's just too much noise all at one time. But if you are trying, again, to listen to everything, trying to hear everything all at once, you will eventually have a hard time hearing anything at all. That's why you can't let every voice in your life have the microphone. Because some voices need to be not just turned down, but turned off. Because some voices you probably shouldn't have invited into the conversation in the first place. Those voices that say everybody else is doing it, it's not a good choice. Or nobody will ever know. That is definitely not a good voice. Or you have to do this if you want people to like you. Nope. Next. You're not good enough. You don't need that voice either. Or my personal favorite, you know what would be a really good idea? And you immediately know it's probably not a good idea. We've all had those friends. And here's the thing, just because a voice is loud doesn't mean it's right. And I want you to remember that. Just because you hear a voice doesn't mean it's right. Just because a voice is popular doesn't mean it's right. And just because a voice is coming from inside of your own head doesn't mean it's right. But there is another voice that you will find in your life if you're paying attention that actually knows you, that actually cares for you, that actually loves you, a voice that actually created you, and a voice that says, my sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. So maybe the question today isn't how do I get everyone to stop talking? Because good luck with that. You can't control everybody else. Or whose voice am I going to listen to? Because if we're going to follow Jesus, we have to learn to recognize his voice above all the other noise. Would you stand with me this morning as I come to a close? Noise-canceling headphones don't make the noise disappear, although there are many times in our lives we wish that they did. The world around us is still loud. The people near us are still talking, and the notifications are still incoming. But these headphones help you to focus on what you actually want to hear. And you're going to walk into school this year with a lot of noise. People will tell you what to believe, what to do, what to be, how to fit in. And sometimes that voice will even come from inside of your own head. But you don't have to listen to every voice that you hear. Because Jesus said that my sheep, not someone else's sheep, but my sheep, hear my voice, and I know them. If you feel like you're alone when you walk through the doors of your school, or sitting in your class, or sitting at the cafeteria, and you feel like you're alone, he says, my sheep hear my voice and I know them. To know is something deeper than just to know about them. It's to literally know them, to come so close that there's no distance they could get away from him. And they follow me. That's what I want you to remember this year, to listen for God's voice. His voice is always near because he is always near. You have to learn to know his voice. And you can only learn to know someone's voice by spending time with them. Kids, you're not too young to pray. You don't have to have fancy prayers. You just have to simply talk to God. You have to learn how to follow his voice. When you feel that tugging at your heart, or maybe you feel like you understand what God is saying in your life, you have the choice to start following after him. You don't want to wait until you're older. And if you're here and you are older, you're all out of excuses. His voice is calling for you just as much. So before our students return to class this year, and I normally, again, I don't want to embarrass anybody, but this is an opportunity for us to pray with you guys. If you are a student this year, if you're a parent of a student this year, if you work in any level of education, I'm going to ask you, please just humor me this one time to come down to the front, because we're going to pray for you. Now, we're not going to single you out. We're not going to embarrass you in front of everybody else. And parents, if you would gather with your children,